Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary Baumgarten, but I suspect you already know that, and I welcome you to our latest chat on Facebook, on paltalk.com, and on YouTube. And today I'm pleased to have a return engagement from my good friend, and for many of you, your good friend, Avi Perry, the author of the novel, the spy novel, the exciting spy novel, 72 Virgins, and the journalist who has just penned a piece for Israel National News that is a little bit on the controversial side, but it gives us an opportunity to talk about something other than the coronavirus. I want to say hello to Tim Hart, who's joining us from Elizabeth, New Jersey, and Simona, who's joining us from Queens. Simona is like you, and well, you're back in Israel. What happens when you go back? Is that making realia? I don't know. Although you were born there, so I don't know how that goes. But Simona is Israeli, and she lives here in the United States in Queens. Welcome, Simona. Hello, Alan from Pal Talk, who says hello to you, Avi. I appreciate you all joining. We're normally just talking about the coronavirus, but there is an election still that everybody seems to be forgetting. And Avi just wrote a piece for Israel National News, in which he was really addressing to Israeli Americans like you, Simona, but it actually applies to all Jews and, frankly, to anybody who supports the state of Israel in the United States about who they should vote for president. And Avi, you're pretty adamant in suggesting that anybody who's a supporter of the state of Israel, especially a Jew, has no choice but to vote for Donald Trump. Welcome, and thank you for joining us from Haifa, Israel.
Thank you, Gary. I'm happy to be here.
Tell me why you think a vote for Biden is not a vote for Israel or a vote against Israel.
Well, let me first say that I don't feel that Trump is my idol. I don't really crazy about him at all. He is filled to the rim with faults or with flaws. However, I'm presented with two choices here. One is Trump, the other one is Biden. And because I live in Israel right now, I have strong feelings about it. I know that people look at Trump and they say, okay, so he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. He recognized the Golan Heights as part of Israel. And so on. And they say, okay, that's very nice, but what difference does it make anyway? But the one thing that Trump did that Biden will reverse, he may not reverse any of the other things when it comes to Israel, but he's going to reverse the nuclear agreement with Iran, where Trump bowed out of it and Biden is going to restore it.
So what's wrong with the nuclear agreement with Iran? It was presented by the Obama administration as something that will actually protect the state of Israel, because under the agreement there's a check and balance, and that check and balance ensures that they're not going to move forward with their nuclear development, and if they do, then we pull back and slap the sanctions back on Iran. And so now that's a carrot and stick approach that many people, including former Secretary of State John Kerry, fully embrace. What's wrong with that?
Well, that's such naivete. Let me say something. Saying that the agreement with Iran was a good agreement is like saying that tornadoes are good for your health because it clears the area. Look, in the 1960s, Israel developed a nuclear bomb. It's not a secret. JFK was the president of the United States. He didn't like it. He was thinking that Israel was doing this. So he sent inspectors to the nuclear reactor in Dimona, where the nuclear bomb was developed, just to confirm and verify that Israel was developing a nuclear bomb. He found nothing. Nothing, absolutely nothing. The inspectors came back and said that Israel is not developing a nuclear bomb. They couldn't find any proof. Now, it was 1960s. Right now, we are 60 years later. Technology is a lot more sophisticated, and hiding the development of a nuclear bomb is a lot easier now than it was before, especially since it's Iran and there's no freedom of the press and there's no freedom at all. And even inspectors are under inspection when they go in there. So they're not going to find anything. But at the same time, Israel has intelligence that demonstrated clearly that Iran was on the path for fashioning a nuclear bomb, for fabricating one. And even if they don't do it now, they're gonna do it later. And that was before and after the nuke agreement was signed. That's number one. Number two, the agreement is only good for 10 years. After 10 years, Iran is getting the license to go and develop a nuclear bomb. There's nothing that says they should not be able to do that. So the agreement is only good for 10 years. What is 10 years? 10 years, it's already like 4 years behind. So it's only like 6 years left. Well, what is 10 years? So after 10 years, you allow them to do that? Is that what it is? The idea is also that Iran, by signing the nuclear agreement, had no sanctions. I mean, all the sanctions that were imposed on it before were lifted. So they had plenty of money to develop other things, to create havoc around the Middle East, and so on. And they develop nuclear missiles right now. Why do they need nuclear missiles? Why? Why do they need ballistic missiles? Now, Israel looks at Iran as an existential threat. It is a threat, maybe not existential for the United States because the United States is so big and strong, but it's a very serious threat, not just to Israel, but to Europe and to the United States, because Iran is building nuclear capable missiles, ballistic missiles that right now can reach Europe. They will be able to reach the United States. And since they control the Straits of Hormuz, where all the oil tankers from the Persian Gulf go through, they can blackmail the United States if they have nuclear bomb, because nobody is going to touch them after they do that. Like nobody is going to touch North Korea. North Korea has done that, and Iran is going to do that for sure, because that's the main thing that is going to give them the security that the United States will not dare attacking them or doing anything that will harm them or harm that current regime. In my opinion, it would be great for the United States, great for the whole world, if the current regime in Iran collapses and disappears. Everybody will agree to that. And by signing the nuclear agreement, you only strengthen that regime. You only make it last longer and longer. But the main thing is that it's only good for 10 years. They are allowed to develop missiles. The agreement does not restrict them from developing ballistic missiles capable of carrying nuclear bomb. So the whole agreement is, I can say it in French, it's a BS. And
Avi, you must understand, I'm sure you do, that many Jews in the United States, even if they agree with all of the arguments that you just made, do not feel comfortable with President Trump. Ken Pauley just put in text, the man who encouraged the group of good people yelling, "Jews will not replace us in Charlottesville," that's who they should vote for, go for it. And more recently, there was this demonstration, I don't know if you know about it there in Israel, but there was a demonstration in Michigan at the state capitol in Lansing where there were people who were opposing the strong measures put into place, the stay-at-home measures put into place by the governor, who's a Democrat, who may be Joe Biden's running mate. So, of course, she is a political target of the president. And some of them were having at swastikas, Confederate flags, and in German, a sign that says, "Work shall make you free." And the president said these were good people who were demonstrating against the governor of Michigan. So I'm sure you can understand why there are Jews whose sensitivities about that may outweigh the sensitivities to which you refer about Iran's threat to Israel.
I fully understand it. I said that Trump is so far away from perfect. He has many, many flaws, but I'm looking at the only thing that presents an existential threat to Israel, and this is overwhelming everything else, in my opinion. And if Biden is going to reverse the Iran nuclear agreement, that is, for me, worth or weighs a lot more than everything else. And I know that Trump is lacking a lot of things that I would like to see in a president. Biden is no better in a lot of other things other than Iran. First of all, if you check him out on television, you can see that the guy is getting really old much faster than me, although we are almost the same age. He has lost his mind. He's not capable of being a president. I am surprised that he doesn't recognize it himself. Because if I were in his position and I would have memory lapses like he does, and if I say stupid things like he does, I mean, it clearly shows that the guy is not on top of himself. And he should be able to recognize it. And even if he doesn't, his wife should be. But he was much smarter and much more brilliant years ago. But now he is just his age is already showing. He is not the right man for the job. So I don't see why people totally overlook this fact and look at all the other things that Trump does. Trump has so many flaws; it's unbelievable. But Biden has more flaws, in my opinion, and he may be more damaging to the world, not just Israel. If he allows Iran, if he stops the sanctions, if he reverses the sanctions, if he let the Iranian regime become prosperous again, and if he lets them develop nuclear missiles, if he lets them develop a nuclear bomb, because that's what the agreement basically does, it lets them build a nuclear bomb in a period of 10 years, not sooner, but later. And if he does that, then in my opinion, he's going to create more damage, inflict more damage on the world and on Israel as well. And that is
Avi Perry, journalist and author in Haifa, Israel. The contradiction that you and I have been talking about. Gene Tondi writes in our Facebook Live group here, Jews are politically homeless because of this contradiction. Would you agree with that? That this is a conflict that's very difficult for Jews to decide who to vote for? Because especially for the more progressive Jews in this country, And there are a lot of progressive Jews, not the ultra-religious. They tend to be conservative, but the rest of the Jews are very socially progressive people as a group. Trump is just impossible for them to swallow for another 4 years.
Well, it's going to be more difficult to look. We have two bad choices. The question is, which one is the worst one? So what do? You are stuck between two bad choices here. Nothing is. I mean, if you go and vote for one of them, you'll be criticized, or everybody will show you how bad that side that you picked. It is bad either way, but you want to take the one that's less bad, or you don't want to vote for the one who's worse among the two, and that's what I'm claiming.
So how do you account for the overwhelming support for the agreement with Iran that the rest of the world remains involved in, but the United States does not? How do you account for the fact that so many others support this?
Well, first of all, I know that for a fact that if many people say something, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's the right thing. So the majority does not decide whether something is right or something is wrong. I see it over and over every day that people are very, very short-sighted. I call them a single move chess player. They see the first move, they don't see what comes after that. And that's what happens to most people in the world. Now, I have my opinion, and I have very, very strong opinion about it, that voting for a person who is going to reverse the nuclear agreement with Iran is going to be an extremely bad decision. And people don't see it that way. People forgot about the agreement with Iran. They don't even think about it. They think about the economy. They think about what they're going to do for lunch. They don't think about the agreement with Iran.
Well, right now they think about the coronavirus. They're not even thinking about any of this right now. I think exactly. You and I are the only ones talking about it right now.
I see it on the stock market as well. One day, the stock market goes up to heaven. The next day, it goes down to hell. And there's no news in the middle. That means to me that somebody said something and everybody jumps on it. It makes no sense. And I see not just that, I see it on every other aspect of life. People voted for Trump over Hillary, for example. If you examine the qualifications, those who, I think that Hillary was more qualified. There's no question about it. But at the same time, people didn't see it that way because they are looking at the very, very short term. They don't see things. They don't see the second move. They don't see the third move. And that's where you have to think, if I do this, the other side will react that way. And then I will have to do this, and he is going to do this, and then I could do this, and he's going to do this. In other words, you have to think several steps ahead of time, not just one. And most people just look at the first step, and that's it. They don't see beyond that. And so majority, if many, many people in the world are saying that this is what should be done, it doesn't necessarily make it right. In fact, in most cases,
you're not suggesting that Joe Biden is anti-Israel. I know that, and we do
know.
No. We also know that he has a history of being supportive of Israel. He was an advocate for resupplying Israel.
Wait. No, Gary, listen.
Yes, Avi.
First of all, when Israel attacked the nuclear reactor in Iraq, that was in 1961, I think it was, or 19. I forgot the exact date. Anyway, Osirak, that was the name of the place. They attacked and destroyed the nuclear reactor of Saddam Hussein. Joe Biden came to Israel and yelled at the prime minister, Menachem Begin at that time. He yelled at him. He insulted him. He threatened him that he will remove all American aid from Israel. He didn't do it because he was a hater of Israel. He did it because his judgment is not right. He didn't understand it that way. Now, 50, 60 years later, the world looks at that operation and the world appreciates that that was the correct thing to do at that time. Can you imagine if Saddam Hussein had a nuclear bomb? So it shows me that Biden is trying to play the nice guy, but he's so naive and his judgment is flawed completely. Even his colleague, Robert Gates, who used to be defense minister of Bush and Obama. He was one of the best Secretary of Defense, right? Robert Gates. He said of Biden that the guy is the most consistent person he knows. Every decision he made was wrong. I don't remember the exact words. I put it in the article. But
yeah, but that's not a fair thing to say because
that's the person he knows.
He supported the funding of Iron Dome, for example. Biden.
Great. Yeah, that's very important.
So my point is, since we both agree he's not anti-Israel, you question his judgment. Is it possible that if he were to be elected president, that his mind may be changed with regard to Iran, and that he would allow the sanctions to remain in place?
No, because he was part of the decision to close the agreement. He supported the agreement. He sponsored the agreement, and because Trump reversed it, that was personal to him. I'm pretty sure, and as a result of that, he is going to pay back. He is going to reverse it back to where it was. So there is 99% probability in my mind that he's going to do it. Everything else is not again, he's going to reverse a lot of Trump's decision. He's going to reverse the tax reform. He's going to try to do that. He's going to try to reverse all the most of the things that Trump has done with regard to
Justice Trump has reversed all the of the President Obama. He decimated the EPA. He wants to totally get rid of Obamacare. I could go on and on and on. Apparently,
he's going to reverse a lot of these things, and that will be another one that he's going to reverse.
Whoever the next Democratic president is will erase what Trump did, and whoever the next Republican president is will erase what the Democratic president did. That's our politics now in the United States, right?
So here you reinforce what I just said, that he's going to reverse the Iran nuclear agreement.
I'm just saying. I don't know that he's going to reverse Iran. He may, but I'm just asking: is it possible that he might not? You suggest not.
No way. Because, like I said, it's not only he believes that it was the right thing. He believes that it's good for everybody. He believes that it's good for Israel as well, but it's personal. It was an insult. It's like Trump was telling Biden by bowing out of the agreement. He was telling Biden and Obama that they are stupid. So that was personal insult for them.
Well, I've never known Donald Trump to throw a personal insult. I can't believe that you would suggest that.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
like I said, I'm not a fan of him. He's not my idol either. I think that he is a bad choice, but he's better than the other bad choice.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. Avi Perry, author and journalist who wrote this biting piece backing Joe Biden and telling American Jews to vote for Donald Trump in Israel National News. I appreciate you joining us, and I'm sure we'll have you back on again in the future.
Well, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us from Haifa. And I just want to say, as I always do at the end of our discussions, everybody, please be safe and peace out.